welcome back to the All Fall Back podcast. This is episode 94, and just like any other week, we have plenty to talk about. This week's all just the one meeting, but that doesn't mean we have a short show. There is plenty to talk through, and we also have some guests joining us this week. This week we are without Chester 430 due to prior engagement, meaning he couldn't be with us this week, but he will return for next week's episode. However, I am joined as always by the remaining two lads, so it's a very good evening to Hadlington.
Good evening, Tank. Good evening, everyone.
And a very good evening also to Shads.
Good evening, chaps.
On this week's episode, we have the following to look at and discuss. We have the British League Riders Championship review with our guest this evening, TJ Griffiths, as well as the World Championship final track draw. We also have the Milton Keynes Cowboys season review by myself with guest Bobby, and then we shall round out the show with the Neil Potter Shield second legs of Storms vs Spartans and Wolves vs Dragons. We now take a in-depth look into the only meeting to take place this week, which was the British League Riders Championship individual meeting. We did have two last-minute replacements coming into this meeting after the episode aired last week. Craig was unfortunately unable to take his place in the absence of Bobby. However, Feshke was ready and willing to accept in seconds to ride in the meeting to be Cowboys' second rider on the night. Our second withdrawal was Spartans captain and rider DL Shaw, and his place went to the next available Spartans rider, which was Le Sorcier. Pre-meeting favourites going into this was the ever-present Stefan, fresh off the back of winning the British Speedway Sliders Grand Prix Series, alongside his closest rival in the GP's Mareki, and Unknown likewise was going to pose a significant threat throughout the meeting. To take us through the BLRC meeting in more depth is Shaz. Take it away.
Yeah, this track, I wasn't giving much hope for decent racing, but it ended up with a really good final, a really good meeting. Interesting to see the mix of the bikes again, the light blue and the purple. Personally, when I was practicing earlier with some of the guys, I was using the purple bike. I think most of them did, but some are still using the light blue, and they both seem to work pretty well. Some good performances, surprising ones as well. I think another good showing from Reese, who's really come on towards the end of the season. He was unlucky not to make the semi-final on 8 points. The Unknown rode pretty well early on, really good, and then sort of that he tailed off towards the end. Didn't quite have enough to get into the final. Some disappointing scores. JC, very unusual for JC. He's had a really poor end to the season. It's just a 1 point. I think with JC as it has been for quite a while now, it's just lack of practice. He looked like he hadn't practiced the track. I mean, only he'd know that. But a worthy winner in TJ, we're going to be chatting to very soon. I think it was Heat 4 where Ryan was lucky not to be excluded for a fence exit just before the line. I think it was Le Sorcier hampered. I'm not sure of the ruling on that, but for me, I mean, he actually didn't scrape. He actually came out of the fence. I think he was trying to block Stefan on the last bend, went inside and just flung himself out into the fence and just came out and blocked the Sorcerer, who would have certainly finished third in that race.
It was also interesting to see the track record was broken multiple times during this meeting as well. It was broken a total of 9 times. And
Wow.
It was in heats 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 10, 15, 19 and the semi-final, where Stefan and DJ both broke it twice each themselves. I think that's the most that a track record has been broken in one meeting alone.
That is madness.
I can't think of any other time that's happened really. The riders who obviously agonisingly missed out due to count back for the semi-final, being 101, Cappy and Reese, just goes to show that 8 points wasn't enough to guarantee you a spot in the semi-final as well. Obviously, you was in the meeting hats as one of the highest average riders. You scored just the 4 points from the 5 rides would you satisfy with the points you got from the field and show that night? And how did you find the track, as it was a talking point prior to the meeting?
Yeah, a bit disappointed really. Only to score 4. I think I was in a few scoring positions where I lost points. I think probably three out of the 5 races. The main one, I think, the one I wanted to win was Heat 16, when it was all my old teammates in the same race, and I led for nearly 3.5 laps, and until JC was trying to pass me, and then 101 just came from nowhere and swept us both aside, and yeah, took the win in that one. But I think the last one I lost a point to Wolfie near the last corner as well. So I didn't really expect that many more points, being honest, because with the practice from Wednesday to the meeting Sunday, plus given the kind of track it was a bit not my kind of track, if you like. But that's no excuse really. But it's one of those. It was good to actually qualify on merit to be in this meeting, and so I suppose I can be proud of that. So rather than getting called up as the 5th average rider, I think it was the season before. So yeah, it did provide some good racing. I was quite surprised, as Shaz mentioned earlier. So, but I'll take the 4 points, and we'll just move on into the next one. So
That was kind of what I thought. Obviously, I hadn't seen or ridden on the track whatsoever until I refereed this meeting, so I thought it might throw up a bit of some interesting races, and it was. And Shaz, you made a good point uh, about the bike choices. That was my instant thought in the first 2 races. I can't remember which way around it was, but Heat 1 had all the cyan bikes, and then it was all the purple bikes in Heat 2, and then it just mixed up there afterwards. That was the thing I instantly remembered straight away in the meeting. And the race of the night for me was that Heat 16 with you and had with the ex Dynamite lads, and that was the race of the night. Just for how
Yeah, that was a good one. I agree
competitive
with
it
that.
was. Yeah.
just a shame we didn't win.
We can now have a chat with the new season 21 BLR champion, TJ Griffiths. Good evening, TJ.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be on here.
Indeed, how are we feeling after winning the meeting last Sunday?
Honestly, I was absolutely ecstatic after Sunday's meeting. I've never kind of traditionally done well at what I call a tight track. So something like this, like Eastbourne, those kind of tracks I tended to always struggle on in meetings. It's quite contact oriented. But I also know that throughout practice, kind of any time I was out front here, I'd say like definitely one of the quickest on the night to win the whole thing. I never really expected that, to be honest with you.
That was going to be my next question. Did you expect to win the meeting? Because when it started, I think you started well. Well, even though it probably didn't show a little bit, I did notice there was a little lull just slightly in the middle. But then towards the end, you picked up and you were the fastest one. I think aside from I think it was you, Stefan, and Unknown were the 3 fastest generally all night.
It was definitely a very up and down night for me. Obviously, my first race, battled to get ahead of Mareki. Was in a comfortable position that I felt I could have won from, or a minimum if Mareki got past me, I got second. Obviously, we had the lag incident midway through the race. It was Unknown and Mareki battling throughout the entire rerun, and I just kept getting like stood by contact with them really, and La Sorcier got me right at the end. So I'd obviously not exactly had the greatest week in STS before. I'd struggled a few meetings on Speedway Challenge as well. So immediately after that first hit, I just thought, oh my goodness, it is another meeting of bad luck. But managed to kind of keep my head together. Obviously for the middle races, I felt very quick. Got the starts I needed, got ahead. And like I said, once I was out front, I was quite difficult to pass here. Heat 20 was probably the most nervous I was all night. I know obviously the situation with everybody on 8 points, and then my direct competitors, Brian and Speedy, were also in that heat as well. I was behind Speedy coming into the second or third lap. Just about managed to overtake him using the inside line on bends 3 and 4, and that gave me just enough points I needed. I'll be completely honest. That semi-final, I did get a little bit lucky. Off gate 3, I was kind of thinking to go wide. Ryan kind of leant his bike inside, so I had no choice but to do the same. Luckily, the contact I got from Ryan pinned me perfectly past everybody. I got a fantastic whack. Obviously, didn't manage to hold the lead from there, and that's what gave me the track record. Devil's number, as you said, Tank.
Yes, yeah.
And then again, pretty similar story for the final, really. This time decided to go wide off gate 3. I mean, there's no chance I'd outgate Stefan and Marecki. So went for the faster outside line, managed to block Cam. I think Marecki made a mistake on the opening lap, so it's between myself and Stefan. Did not expect him actually to go inside on lap 2, but it did. So I followed the fast outside line, just about managed to get ahead of him through turns 1 and 2. And then, yeah, that was it for the night.
Mentioning Stefan, that gives me my final question. And does this now give you the confidence going forward to try and go to the next level and challenge Stefan in the GPs more, and obviously other individuals like Marecki has done this season?
Well, so Cam kind of let the rabbit out of the hat early in the meeting. So I have switched to controller lately. It was just something initially that we kind of tried as a joke, like just a bit of fun in the server when practicing Hull. But I just felt my starts were about the same. I just felt a lot more consistent on the line. So it was I'd used it prior in the week at Peterborough. This is obviously my first individual meeting on controller, and I just felt a lot more comfortable. I can also confirm throughout the week I've been messing with a few NVIDIA settings to improve my starts. And from the testing I've done, I should be kind of up there with some of the best on the game now. And I think it'll all come down to attendance for GP. Obviously, I'd love to take it to your Steffens, your Marecki, your Cam. Those guys are just so consistent. I've got obviously 2 GP wins in this, but I've also last season, for example, I scored 3 points. I've had many GPs that haven't even made the semi-finals. So I think from a consistency point of view, that's definitely something I need to work on. But just see where the win takes me, really.
And obviously another confidence boost. You're in a VIP group just like me, and that's beating Stefan around Peterborough this season. But we won't go too much into that, otherwise we'll need to get a room for ourselves for gloating too much.
And twice as well, I just want to say.
Yes. Shads and Hads, you got questions?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Toby. Heat 3, if you think back, that was the rerun race.
Yeah.
The rerun race, wasn't it? You were comfortably in second place behind Marecki when the server lagged pretty badly, and everyone was affected by it. And in the rerun, you were again behind Marecki, but you slightly scraped the back fence on the last lap, if you remember. You lost a bit of momentum. I think is it the Saucier passed you on the last bend. Did you think at that stage that that last place your chances had gone?
I wouldn't say kind of I felt as if my chances had gone at that point. It was more just I think I struggled mentally after that race, just thinking it's just going to be another meeting of bad luck. So I was leading against Marecki in the initial run-in and thought I feel confident here. If I'm out front, I can do well. Obviously, but that happened in my first ride. I just think, oh goodness, here we go again. Especially after how last season went. Like I said, I scored I think 3 points at Wembley, so I just thought this is going to be another one. But I was lucky, managed to keep my head together, and the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah, I think that you had I think you had a four race gap between your next heat, and you followed that up with 2 heat wins, and then you got another last place in your fourth ride. It meant you needed at least a second place in your final race to make the semi-final. How are you feeling about going into that heat against Ryan, Speedy, and JC?
I think nerves doesn't quite cover that one. I knew, like I said, to try and outgate them both on what I felt at the time was probably the worst gate at this track.
Yeah.
I knew it wouldn't be an easy job, and for the first 2 laps, I was actually behind Speedy, but I just about managed to get the contact against him on lap number 3, I believe it was, and then just about managed to stay ahead at the end. Got the points I needed. I was fixed with that.
That semi-final looks a really tough lineup. I mean, you had Unknown, who'd only dropped 3 points in the qualifying races, and Ryan, who needed the win to qualify himself, and not forgetting your biggest rival, Cam. What were you thinking going into that race?
Yeah, like I said, honestly, at that point, I was very happy to just be in the semi-final. I knew if things kind of went my way, I had a chance. But obviously, I'd say Percy Ryan's the best gator on the game. I know Cam and I have a good rivalry, and Unknown had been just fantastic on the night. I do feel bad kind of for him how it went in the end. Obviously, if flew to Spain, rode fantastically on the night and just ended up missing out. But I knew
Yeah, I
kind of
mean,
from the start in that race that I
you
got
had
the
you had,
win.
you had, you had the third gate. You had the third gate choice, I believe, and you picked gate 3, and then in the final you had the third choice gate again, and it's between 3 and 4. Was it an easy decision to go for 3, or were you thinking about 4 as well?
Well, in the semi-final itself, I was actually going to go for gate 4. Like so, I thought it was the better gate, but I also knew that I'd
Yeah,
been my inside susceptible to Ryan, who I knew for a fact I would not be able to outgate. So at least on gate 3, I've got options. If the guys in red and blue go a bit wide, I can always get an inside line. I can always go for the outside if they outgate me. Obviously, as soon as I knew it was in the final, I know I can outgate Cam. That gave me kind of that outside run, and it ended up proving effective. It's what got me ahead of Mareki, and then just kept the momentum, got ahead of Stefan the following lap.
you mentioned earlier that Stefan used that inside line on the final at the start of the second lap. Were you surprised he did that? Because I thought he usually does an inside line when he's attacking, not when he's defending. He usually sticks to the outside lines. Were you surprised he dived inside? It gave you the chance to go past him on the back straight.
Yeah, 100%. I feel I've kind of always struggled with overtaking. I will be completely honest about that, especially on a track like
Mm.
this. So throughout practice, if I ever had, Ryan Marecki, look, honestly, anybody in this field ahead of me, I'd always struggle to overtake them throughout the night. One advantage I have always had is just that I'm quick. I know how to ride a fast line. I know how to repeat it. So, but when I saw him go for that inside line, I just had a game plan, stuck to that outside line, nailed it, and like I said, got admittedly a little bit lucky with the contact. So I guess that's just how things go sometimes. Obviously, the following lap, he retried that inside line to get ahead. Missed the contact from my bike, and I think from there, I was about 4 or 5 bike lengths ahead. I kind of knew, kind of midway through lap 3, that
You're,
unless I
I
messed
think
up and fenced, I'd have
you're
been
you're in a
toast.
very, very exclusive club that people that have actually passed Stefan once he's gone ahead. So all credit to you. I mean, I've said it before. Once Stefan gets ahead, I can't remember him being passed very often. But no, all credit that it was. I watched that race quite a few times, and I thought it was such a small gap between Stefan and the fence. I mean, you could have easily scraped, but I mean, once you got ahead, I think that was it was curtains really.
Yeah, so I know, obviously from racing them at Peterborough, Kings Lynn, every single GP we've ever done, you kind of have about a lap or two window to get past Stefan. If you let him get 3 or 4 bike lengths ahead, you are not catching.
Yeah, that's a good
So
point actually. Yeah,
I had one opportunity, like I said, I'm just very glad I took it in the end.
let's hope we see some more of that on when is it Monday? Monday, isn't it? We ride
Let's
it.
hope not.
Yeah, we'll see about
Has you got anything to add?
Yeah, I was just gonna go back to that inside where you said Stefan went on the inside and you stick to the outside. Um, I don't know. Well, obviously from our team chat, Stefan actually said that was the first time or not he'd done that and used the inside. To be honest, I think that's more probably because it was mentioned before in our servers that how quick not just you but a couple of the others were as well. And he was probably feeling not as quick, maybe, or um, on that line. So I mean, for someone of that to, I think maybe knowing that it's a bit more out of respect kind of thing, and maybe he knows
that.
he's in a race and a bit of kind of thing. So I mean, for him to do that and then, or just like when you saw him go to that inside, obviously, you said you stuck to the outside and stuck to your guns, which is absolutely hats off because, as like Shad said, not many people pass him when he's ahead. But how many laps did you actually do? Because I heard talks of thousands of laps between you and Cam for this meeting.
Yeah, I didn't do quite as much as Cam. I think Cam in the end genuinely ended up doing over 1,000 laps. I think for myself it was kind of the 250 to 300 range. It's a funny coincidence. My first GP I won at Bidgosh was after coming home after a weekend in London, and I'd spent the weekend in London this time as well. So maybe there's something going on in London that gives me some good luck for these individual events. I might have to go to and from between every GP round next season. Um, so I think it was such like obviously going back to the track. I think that the outside was very kind of awkward to nail, and that's definitely where controller gave me an advantage in comparison to key. But I felt like I could repeat that line a lot more consistently. From Stefan's perspective, I completely understand why he went inside. He's one of the best defensive riders in STS. And I think that there was always a chance that I could do what he did, go down the inside and potentially get a bit lucky with the contact. So I think he was just trying to play a bit defensive, slow the race down, get everybody involved.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's how contact goes on this game. There's some finals where his contact with me at that point, I'd have stayed behind. There's some finals where obviously I come out in front. So, but I have so much respect for Stefan, both on and off track. There's no three riders I think I'd have rather beat in that final. Obviously beating Ryan in the semi-final as well. I feel I was very happy with the riders I'd beat, and to come out on top against that lineup.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm not surprised. I mean, you think those three were the top three in the GP this season. So which leads me to my next question was like, where does that rank in terms of achievements in STS? Because obviously we know you've won a couple of GPs before. I mean, does that feel better to win this, or would you say the GPs were better?
I'd probably say this ranks about the same as my first GP win. I think, like I said, it's purely the unexpectedness of it. I don't think I've ever gone into a meeting thinking, I could win this. But I knew tonight probably had a good chance of the semi-finals at this track. If I could get out in front, that was always the big part for me. And like I said, I got two last places on the night. It wasn't like this is a perfect track for me. Yeah.
So that was a win for TJ in the BLRC and now the season 21 champion. Thank you for joining us, TJ, and hopefully we'll get you back on soon.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, lads.
Thank you very
Cheers,
much.
Toby.
Thank you.
We now head into the World Championship final track draw. We found out on last week's show that the qualifiers will be taking place at Poland's Bydgoszcz track. If you need a reminder of the track, here it is. So let's get the draw underway. We opted to select tracks that had been recently fully retiled and not used for a couple of seasons at least. There are 4 tracks in contention. Just like last week, they are Berwick, Halifax, Lakeside, and Sunderland. The season 21 World Championship final will be taking place at...
Oh, I hope I don't make the final. Any of these. Oh,
Halifax. It's sure to be an interesting final either way.
something new.
Yep. So Halifax is the World Championship final track.
That's not been used before, has it?
No. There we go. Bydgoszcz, and that for the qualifiers, and Halifax is for the final. However, to reach the final, we are going to need a minimum of 2 qualifiers, and as at the time of recording, we are at just 20 sign-ups, with a further 12 spots left to fill. So if you haven't already signed up, now is the time to do it, and if you know of some who are unsure if to or not, or you may know of some returning riders who might want to get involved and get the bug back, then you should definitely get onto them ASAP. Deadline for sign-ups is this coming Thursday, the 19th of February at 6 PM, with the lineups, order and the additional day to accompany them already set in stone, for the first one being on Sunday the 22nd, and this will be all announced on Friday evening, but you can see the draw for the ride and order on next week's show when it uploads Saturday at 8 PM. The riders already signed up is as follows. It's myself, it's Hobnob, Alan McNally, Stephen 101, Speedy, Stefan, Squall, Capesy, Cappy, Veggie, Hadlington, Wolfie, Westy Boy, Unknown, Dretlocker, Racer Ryan, Rico, Cam, and a Saucier, and Chads. It's already shaping up to be a good set of meetings if we get enough for the 2 qualifiers. So let's get them remaining spots filled up. If your teammates haven't already done so already, then encourage them, and if anyone who hasn't already filled in the availability form on the forum, then please do so as soon as possible. This will massively help us ensure everyone gets to ride on a day that suits them as best we can. The sooner the better. There is currently a few who have yet to fill theirs in. We begin the season review of Cowboys with team building night. The night everyone looks forward to every season, and Bobby was tasked with picking his golden pick for Cowboys, and he opted to go with British Speedway stalwart in Craig. By doing so, this gave Bobby first choice of who he could pick in round 1 of the draft, being the team with the lowest draft points team total of just 2. From then on, Bobby's team took the shape as follows as we look at the team top to bottom. He then signed, he had to sign himself from Group B, then he went with Speedy in Group C, Big Slow Caney in Group D, the Cowboys veteran and ever present in the Cowboys when Bobby's captain in Group E, Ben Thompson from Group F, and Captain Audi from Group G. On paper, Cowboys have a strong team with good experience spearheaded the team in Craig and Bobby. They were then backed up by in the solid core riders in Speedy, Big Slow Caney, and Cowboys veteran Rico returning for another season with Bobby. The team being rounded out with Ben Thompson, who is a trump card at reserve to start the season, and then you have Captain Audi, who was making his return to the game for a few seasons. Once the dust had settled from team building, Bobby and his newly assembled team was tasked with selecting their home track for season 21. They ultimately picked Milton Keynes as their home track. That was their first choice, and the last time Milton Keynes was used was way back in season 4 when, ironically, Craig was captain of Warriors at the time. The difference then to now is, back then it was an earlier version of the track, version 2, and it was all on the inside white line for 4 laps. I was in the team that season, and it was my first full season on the game, so remember it very well, but the Milton Keynes track we are aware of now and ride is vastly different. If you want to experience the track back then, feel free to go into the nostalgia category of the game to give it a go for some fun or frustration, take your pick. Cowboys season got off to the worst possible start in the Knockout Cup, with a heavy defeat at home to Wolverhampton Wolves, losing 67-29. This was quickly highlighted by the Cowboys team that they had been training a completely different and wrong line to that of the Wolves team on the night before this. They soon got their heads down to retrain and re-equip themselves going into the next home meeting, so they didn't make the same error again going forward. When things wouldn't get any easier the following week, when they had to face off against early season title contenders, the Peterborough Spartans, and so it proved, losing heavily once again at 60-36. But they had clearly made slight improvements. Week 3 saw them travel to Storm at Kings Lynn, and they'd lose again. However, they would make it more of a competitive meeting, losing by just 14 points. With a morale confidence boosting result despite the scoreline, they were more than up for the fight when in week 4 they went into the second leg of the Knockout Cup against Wolves, pretty much looking to show the first leg was a blip in their early season form, and so it proved. Whilst they lost on aggregate 118-74, they did however keep it respectively close on the night, losing by just 6 points, 51-45. That would be the end of their Knockout Cup hopes at the quarter-final stage. With the early exit from the Knockout Cup, this meant Cowboys could then focus solely on their league form, and in week 5 they faced Panthers of Ellesmere-Port. Whilst they did go down to another defeat at home, this was a very close meeting, which the Panthers edged 50-46, meaning after the third week of fixtures, Cowboys are sat on 0 points. The following week saw Cowboys go down narrowly to the same scoreline in consecutive weeks as they did against Panthers the week before, 46-50, but this time to second title favourites, the Hastings Dragons. After a very rocky and alarming start to the season, being on the wrong line, they did meetings much closer, giving themselves a fighting chance of getting more points by getting their first points in the league against the Wolves, but unfortunately they got unlucky to be at the halfway stage of the league campaign, saw the Cowboys rock bottom of the league with 1 point. Notable averages increases after 5 meetings was Bobby, who increased his start of season average by 1 point to then become the Cowboys' new number 1 rider. Speedy also increased his average by 0.88, but the biggest early season shock was Craig dropping down 2 places in the team to third in the averages, having an average decrease of 1.59, very unlike Craig. Cowboys riders who was key to helping to keep scorelines close after 5 meetings was Speedy, who recorded double figures of 3 or 4 meetings he rode in, proving that if the other riders could pitch in, they stood a real chance of getting their first league points and moving up the table. Bobby was then forced into a team change after trying to persist with the availability issues surrounding Big Slow Caney, and the rider himself trying to not let the team down. It was decided that it was in the best interest of the team for him to step down so they could sign a replacement. Bobby looked at his options, made inquiries, and he found his new rider in a rider who also helped him out at Cowboys last season, that being the former Norse captain, Swedish finest Fetchke. He would join the team in week 7, just before the halfway stage of the season. With a number of Cowboys riders having ridden in enough meetings to obtain a new average, the new riding order for them was as follows. Bobby was at number 1, followed by Speedy at 2, then Craig, Fetchke, Ben Thompson, and the bottom 2 riders for Cowboys was Rico and Captain Aldi. The side still looked in good shape and competitive, with a trump card of Rico sliding down the lineup, who could be utilising more in the reserve spot in most meetings. Heading into the second half of the season for Cowboys was a mixture of highs and lows. Mostly lows, looking at results, as they was the heavy loss to Spartans again, but in the reverse fixture from week 2, losing by 20 points, 58-38. Which is 6 points less than they lost in the reverse. Week 14 see them come very close to getting their first league points of the season at home to Storm, losing by 4 points in a 46-50 defeat. This would be the 4th and final time they would actually record an identical scoreline in one season, which I believe is a new record. Week 15 the following week saw Cowboys equal their heaviest league defeat from week 2, but this time against Panthers 60-36 at Ellesmere Port, but Cowboys was to then hit their lowest point of the season by losing to Dragons when they visited Hastings in a 40 points defeat, yes 40 points, and losing 68-28. You would be thinking at this point, with one final league meeting left, they would finish the league on 1 point, which you would not blame them for being low on confidence after that, but they left it until very late, and in their final league meeting they got their final league points of the season, with getting 2 points from this fixture, winning marginally 49-47, and that would be their final league total of 3 points. This would be their high point of the season to ensure they had a win to their name during the season. At the end of the season, this is how the Cowboys' riding order finished. Bobby remained at the top. Craig had repositioned himself at number 2. Speedy was back at number 3, with Fetchke at 4. Rico finished where he started at number 5. Ben Thompson at 6, and Captain Aldi at 7. Bobby's Cowboys team, whilst they had the slow and comical start to the season with not knowing one of the lines on their home track, they did give it their best throughout the season, but was so nearly in half the league fixtures. Had the luck been on their side, they could have so easily have finished on points and higher up the table. They will be ruining missed opportunities, but can feel relief at winning their final fixture of the season. And that is the Cowboys season review for season 21. We are joined by Cowboys captain Bobby. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, how are we?
Yeah, not too bad.
Excellent.
Now, Was the team you assembled for team building night the team you originally set out to try and get, or did you have to go with other options based on other captains' picks? And do you have any regrets on your approach that night? And would you have picked differently now looking back?
No, I mean, I wanted to get Speedy and Craig because of all the track changes, and I thought that was sort of quite a shrewd thing to do. Obviously, it didn't quite transpire that way, as you've already alluded to with the first meeting and getting the line completely wrong. But I don't think any captain can pick their 7 before the night the way that the team builder's done now. You have an idea, but obviously the rider you want out of the group will be the same that most other captains will want. So you've just got to prioritise which groups you want to go for first. And but yeah, I was quite happy with what we had. I thought everyone had potential to up their averages. It just didn't work out that way, unfortunately.
Yeah, obviously Craig was your golden pick. Obviously you said you wanted him for the tracks. He had an underwhelming season by his own admission. Was it a case of things just didn't click when ordinary usually does for Craig?
Yeah, I mean, Craig had quite a lot going on. As you know, he plays football. He's got 2 young kids. I think he's quite heavily involved in the local cycle speedways, the trackman, and all that kind of stuff now as well. So, Craig's got a lot going on, but if he can get half an hour, he's normally good for points. But like I said, just availability was our main issue right throughout the team. Really, you'll probably correct me, but I can't remember us fielding 6 Cowboys for a meeting, to be honest.
Might have done once maybe, but
Yeah, once maybe.
yeah. Yeah, I think it was probably about once. Yeah, I knew there was obviously availability issues for Ben Thompson, which I know he was frustrated at trying to be available after work when he's changed a job.
Yeah, so there was some nights where Ben was only available early because he had like an early start the next morning, but then we couldn't go early because Craig couldn't do that early because of his commitments, and we just couldn't get. There was times where we got offered 2 dates by obviously the home team, and had they picked another date, we'd have had all 7. But the dates we were getting offered, we had 3 or 4, and it's just one of them things. People have got a life outside of what is ultimately just a game and a bit of fun, and we still enjoyed it.
With Millward teams, obviously haven't been used since season 4 with the Warriors, and albeit that was version 2. Do you have any regrets picking it now? And if you hadn't have gone there, what was your second track choice?
Oh God, I can't remember what the second track choice was, to be honest. But no, I mean, obviously, yeah, we've got regret because we didn't know that line was there. But after the first week, we did, and we just couldn't really get it dialed in as a team. But I think Speedy was more gutted than anybody because obviously he'd retiled the track and he'd made it so that there was an inside line, there was a cutback line, there was a mid-track to tight line. But obviously, when we came up against Wolves in that first meeting and they're on them Cyan bikes, we thought, oh, brilliant, they're not going to be able to turn in time for the lines that we've been racing. Little did we know they were on the right one. But never mind.
And I guess that's one of the disadvantages of going for an old track.
Yeah, but hey, we'll laugh about it now. Speedy was gutted at the time, but
Hmm.
it is what it is.
Yeah. And finally, when will you be giving Rico a testimonial for his dedication and commitment to the Cowboys cause after all these years?
He's not getting one. He could have ridden at Hastings, but he refused. He doesn't
Ah.
like it.
Oh,
So he can't have one.
fair enough. Had you got questions?
Yeah, evening, Bobby.
Hello, mate. You all right?
Yes, thank you.
Good.
Do you think the loss of not having Kane in the middle order of the team affected the team more than it should have at the start of the season?
I think so because Kane's much better than his average. See, I brought him in to Cowboys side a couple of years previously. I think when we had Stefan, and Kane came in, and I think he won the pairs with Stefan and outscored Stefan in that pairs meeting. And to get him on that average was I thought brilliant. He'll up that. And then I think a week or two into the season, he started a new job and he just wasn't available. And when you've got someone who can score what he can, on the average he was on, the replacements aren't there either. So it's a big miss. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I do agree. As you said, that one season when he rode with Stefan in those pairs, he was just, I don't know, probably the Stefan effect, if you like, but it's way better than what he was scoring.
I think he finished second in our averages that season. He finished above me, I think. So he's definitely got the potential to score a lot more than the number 4, or I think it was number 4 that we signed him at. I say we held off as long as we could. He was hoping things would change, and the only reason we changed him is because we had to. We couldn't keep using guests. He had to ride in a certain number of meetings. You couldn't use a facility, so we were left with no option but to swap him out.
Yeah. I'm going to talk individually. Obviously, you rode in the SCS, won 3 out of the 4 rounds you rode in. Obviously, we know Rico won the SCS and Speedy was 4th in the GPs. Do you think those individually, do you think it was practicing away from the team, or did you practice together for those individuals as well? Do you think there was a difference in form from your league form? What do you think?
We practiced. Sorry, my dog's just eating a pom-pom hat. Anyway, I've got it off him now. We practiced a bit together. Pre-meeting, we tend to just go in any servers that were open, so we were mixing it around with other people. It was just there wasn't that kind of slump of what was going on in the league. We were, Speedy was going well in the GPs, Rico was going well in the SCS, so there was maybe a little bit more confidence in that. I'm not sure, but Rico did brilliantly winning that. I'm not quite sure he's looking forward to the GPs next season, but he'll certainly give it a go.
And my last question is, will you return next season as a captain?
Yes, I certainly will.
Good man.
We might move from Milton Keynes, though.
So that was a look back at your season. Thank you very much for joining us, Bobby. Hopefully next season turns out to be better for you.
Yeah, well, if we get 1 3-point win, we've equalled it, haven't we? So yeah, that'll be the plan next year.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
No, thanks, guys. Good night.
Cheers, Bob.
Cheers. Good night.
We now head into the Neil Potter Shield semi-final second legs that is coming up next week, and to take us through the previews will be Hads. Over to you.
Yep, so for first of 2 meetings this week, it will be Monday, the 16th of February at 8:30, as the Kingling Storm host the second leg against the Peterborough Spartans. The Spartans coming into this with a 34-point lead from the first leg a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to bring him in because he is still here. Toby, how do you look at your chances for the second leg? Is it just damage limitation and win the meeting?
I think so at this point, yeah. Obviously, we've lost considerably twice to you this season. I mean, the first time it was only, I believe, 12 points. Second time was much greater. So it's just a little bit of pride, kind of from our side. I think everyone knows it'll be Spartans in the final. But if we can at least try and make ourselves look honourable at home, kind of to round off the season, that would be, I think, a good way to finish for us.
Yeah, obviously we know the last few meetings and towards the end of the season, you have actually had some availability. You haven't seen people for a while. I suppose my question is, will you have 6 riders on Monday?
To be confirmed at the moment. So we've got. I believe we should have a full team. Yeah. If not, obviously we can always use a guess. We can use rider replacement, but we should have 6 riders ready and raring to go. I'm hoping.
Yeah, that is good to hear. To be fair, because it's obviously you want to race these meetings. You want to race against teams, full teams. To be honest, So yeah, that is good. Shads, I'm going to bring you in if I can, because you also rode for the Storm. What are your thoughts on the second leg?
I can confirm. We have 6 riders available, if not willing, but they're available. I think there's just one more to confirm. So it's going to be draw and straw to see who's not going to ride, and I just hope it's me. I'm just fed up getting. I'm just fed up getting. No, let's wind that back a bit. This part of me doesn't want to ride because I'm fed up getting beaten up. And another part of me thinks, you know what? It's the last meeting of the season for us as a team together. Let's go out and give it, a good
Yeah.
go. Nothing to lose. There's nothing to lose. If we were 10 points behind, I think the nerves would be jangling because we'd probably, think, oh, we got a chance here. Seeing as how you did when you was at Hastings, but obviously Kingsland isn't Hastings. It's a lot easier track to ride, and you guys seem to enjoy riding it. Especially yourself, Hads. I think you beat me 3 times there. Each time I think I've beaten you there once on my home track, which is quite embarrassing. But no, we'll see how it goes. If we can get 40 points, I think that'll be a victory for us. I think we score more than 35. I think it's our best in the 2 meetings we've had against you at Kingsland. So let's see how we go. Hopefully Stefan can't make it, and a few of you guys have had too much ale and are
Well,
taking it easy. But I can't see that happening.
you can probably count on one hand how many times Stefan's missed the meeting, to be honest.
Yeah, no,
So
yeah, no. So,
I do
we'll,
think
it's the
I
last
do
home
think
meeting. It's the last meeting, so we'll give it a go.
yeah, I think that's what you want. You want it to be competitive as well, even though after the first leg you want to, as you say, get that one team together one last time and try and get over the line and win the meeting. I think, and I think we only have we have 6 available, so I think we could be going with that 6. Although I think one may be a slight issue, and over the weekend we're not 100% yet, so we'll have to see how that goes. But I'm going to ask Tank as well for a score prediction for this one.
Or
Oh God.
well,
You on the spot a bit there.
yeah. I'm gonna go for I think it's gonna be a Spartans win, but I think it's only gonna be 20-point win. It depends how
Are you
much
going to
sort of.
abandon after 10 heats?
No, it depends. It does depend on the night, but I don't see it being. I don't see it being one-way traffic, but I think it'll be a more interesting leg this way than it was in the first one, personally.
Yeah.
Ryan will want to forget, obviously, how he rode, and likewise, obviously, and as you alluded to, and hopefully we can see Method if he's available, because he's been quite good around Kingston, so that could obviously close the gap, and for a second leg at least, it will make that second leg more respectable and a tighter affair. But I'd see it as being one way, but I'll go put my neck on the line and say I don't see Stefan getting a maximum. So
There's your prediction for this week. So, with that one out the way, we move on to the second semi-final, which will take place the day after, on Tuesday the 17th at 9 p.m, where we have the Wolves at home against the Dragons. The Dragons come into this one with a 22-point advantage, from the first leg. And Wolves, towards the end of the season, obviously we know they made some changes there, and obviously they still do have availability problems as well here and there. Obviously depends what kind of team they can get out, because they had a few missing for their last meeting. So yeah, I think the Wolves will be probably the same boat as the Storm, if you like. They'll want to use this meeting one last time and ride together and just give it their all and get the win on the night. I mean, I don't think the Dragons will let a 22-point lead slip personally, especially with the strength in depth throughout the team. I mean, having Reece, I mean, you just say he scored 8 points in the BRRC and he's come runner-up in the SCS and he's going to be using number 7. So that just tells you how strong this Dragons team can be on their day. And also, so I think the Wolves, I'm probably going to go, depending on lineup, so I think the Wolves could push the Dragons close in this one. But as he's still with us, and I know he's a Wolves fan in real life, I'm going to ask Mr. TJ what his prediction is for this one.
Yeah, I think you guys have summed it up pretty well, to be honest. I think the Dragons will take the overall win and progress through to the final. But the actual meeting itself, I'm predicting it to be very, very close. And obviously, Cam in particular really loves this track. But I just think that the top 4, and then obviously having the Witcher at reserve for Wolves is massive. If they can get their whole team racing kind of lined up here, I would genuinely predict probably minor Wolves win, about 4 to 6 points. But I think overall Dragons have got enough of an advantage to get through to the final.
Yeah, I do have to agree. I think if Wolves have that full 1 to 6, the top 1 to 6, that they can get match for anybody really. But it's getting everyone available, as we know, on the same day. It's been tough for a few teams this season.
So like you've got Bewitcher who's averaging kind of almost 8 at home at reserve, and then you got Super Dip who in his last meeting scored something like 16 points from 6 rides, I believe it was.
Yeah,
Those two as a reserve pairing, could be a massive difference maker between the two. I don't think it's quite all over yet, but I'm expecting a fascinating meeting for this one.
Yeah, I think the first few heats will be important for sure in this one. Mr. Shads, I'm going to bring you in and ask you what your prediction is for this one.
I can see a Wolves win, but there again, I haven't cleaned my glasses today. So if Wolves go full strength, which I can't see happening, I don't think we're going to see Sizzler again. I think it was a one and done with him. I think he came back thinking he was going to be, back in it, but I think his enthusiasm isn't quite what it was. So they'd probably go rider replacement, which won't be a bad thing because the way Dip's been going, he could have 7 or possibly 8 rides. I think that'd be allowed, won't it?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that'd be allowed because I think he got done for it early in the season where he had 8 rides, but he wasn't rider replacement in place. So I think one of his rides got docked. But yeah, I think the Wolves will keep it close. I think they'll probably, obviously, they're going to go out. They could win on the night, but I can just see the Dragons with Stephen 101's riding. Cam obviously like this track. If Reece rides, he will do well here. Probably, I'm going to go for a very narrow Hastings Dragons win by maybe 2 to 4 points.
Interesting one. And finally, I'm going to ask Tank for a score prediction again. He might be a bit more prepared this time.
Well, I've looked at this one a few times, and 22 points would be seen as job done in most eyes. I'm not so sure. They needed the big league to take to Wolves, and with Wolves, obviously the new additions with Lima and Sizzler returning, and then unknown. Yeah, it's It's I'm gonna predict that Wolves will win on the night. Whether they win on aggregate, I'm not entirely sure, because the Dragons have formed this season of blowing a big lead. They blew a 26-point lead from the first leg of the semi-final, ironically against your team, Heads.
I
And
didn't want to mention that.
oh, I've gone there. I've gone there. and hopefully they've learnt the lesson from that. But will the Wolves, if they hit straight out from Heat 1 and 2 and they start going for it, if Dragons aren't ready or they think they've won it, will the mindset obviously be setting in? That's the concern. So, depending on the lineups for both teams, particularly probably Wolves, I would go with. I'm going to be very different, and because predictions is never my strong point in the past, so why change it now? I'll go with a Wolves win by 6. But I think Dragons won't slip up this time. And I think Dragons will progress to the final.
So there we have it. Our predictions are in for this week. We're predicting a Dragons versus Spartans final. But we will all see how it all unfolds on next week's show.
Thank you very much. And at this point in the show, we'd like to remind you all of our social media links and where you can follow us. We are more active on some more than others, but in time we will have an even spread across the board. You can find us on the website and forum, where all the present and past stats, etc. can be found currently. We are also on Discord, which is a great hub to chat, discuss, and where all meetings take place officially and unofficially. We are also on YouTube, like you're doing now, and listening to this podcast. We upload regularly with the meeting highlights, live streams. But if that wasn't enough, we provide regular posts, updates, and reactions over on our Facebook page weekly, and also sharing teams' own branded Facebook pages. So make sure to keep your eyes peeled and notifications on for when posts appear on there, so you never miss a beat on anything that is released. And finally, we have Twitter, or X as it's now known. We are now posting on more frequently, so make sure to follow us on all our social media platforms. And if you have any inquiries about getting involved, be it league racing or anything else, I am sure one of our members will be happy to direct you to the appropriate person to get you sorted and involved, because we are here to help everyone, new, old, or returning. We are coming to the end of the show now, and we shall take a look at next week's show. We will have the Neil Potter Shield semi-final second leg reviews, when we will then know the finalists. We should have Shaz's Rider of the Week, as there's 2 meetings. We will then have a look at the Ellesmere Port Panthers season review, which is being done by Shads. We will then have the draws for the World Championship qualifiers, and also announcing the day that will go along with Sunday the 22nd, and also previewing the qualifiers as well with the lineups ahead of Sunday. And with that, we have reached the end of another episode of the All For Bat podcast. In a week, we saw TJ Griffiths take the whole track record of 40.666 and be crowned the BLRC champion for season 21. We had a look at the season for the Milton Keynes Cowboys with Cal's captain Bobby, and finally we previewed the Neil Potter Shield second leg this upcoming week. All that is left for me to say is a good night to Hadlington.
Good night, Tank. Good night, all.
And it's a good night to Shads.
Good night, fellas. Have a good one.
And finally, it's a good night from myself, Stephen. We shall see you next week for episode 95. Until then, thank you very much for watching and listening.